President.
The senator from Kansas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the cloture motion with respect to Executive Calendar 836 be withdrawn and the Senate proceed to consideration of the nomination.
Without objection. The clerk will report the nomination.
Farm Credit Administration, Charles A. Stones of Kansas to be a member of the Board of Directors.
I ask, Mr. President, consent the Senate vote on the nomination with no intervening action or debate. That if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be made and laid upon the table. The President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection. The question is on the nomination. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The nomination is confirmed.
Thanks, buddy. I truly appreciate it.
The majority leader.
With a phone call.
The Senate is not.
I think all of our colleagues understand our present situation. Both sides of the aisle are firmly committed to finalizing another major pandemic rescue package for the American people. Constant discussions have been underway for several days now. As of right now, we have not yet reached a final agreement, regretfully. I believe all sides feel we're making good progress on a major relief bill that would travel with the full year appropriations measure. But alas, we are not there yet. Given that, our urgent task is to pass a stopgap government funding measure. There's no reason why the federal government funding should lapse while we hammer out our remaining differences. So we're going to take up the continuing resolution which just passed the House a few minutes ago on an overwhelming bipartisan basis. I hope this body will pass it easily and get this measure on the President's desk so Congress can complete our negotiations with no pointless lapse in normal government operations. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to legislative session and be in a period of morning business. Senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of the House joint resolution.
Right to object? Okay.
The clerk will report the title of
Sorry.
the bill for the information of the Senate.
House Joint Resolution 107, making further continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2021 and for other purposes.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure?
Reserving the right to
The
object.
senator from Vermont.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, last week I indicated that it would be unacceptable for the Senate to recess for the Christmas holidays without providing substantial direct payments to the working families of our country and to their children. Majority Leader McConnell and I do not agree on much, but as I understand it, we are in agreement on at least one point, and that is that the Senate cannot go home until a COVID emergency relief bill is passed. The fact that the Majority Leader intends to keep the Senate in session this weekend to continue work on the COVID relief package is the correct decision. But let me at this time be as clear as I can be. Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, and I have been working together to make certain that the working families of this country have a direct payment of $1,200 for adults and $2,400 for couples and $500 for each of their children. And let me also be absolutely clear that I will object to any attempt by the Senate to pass an omnibus appropriations bill and leave town before passing a COVID relief bill with substantial direct payments going to working people. The truth is that the working families of this country today are probably in worse economic condition than at any time since the Great Depression. Millions of people are unable to pay their rent, and they're worried about being evicted. Hunger is literally at an highest level that it has been in several decades. And in the midst of this terrible, terrible pandemic, we got tens of millions of people who cannot afford to go to a doctor. That is unacceptable. So I would say to my colleagues, let us get this package passed. Let's make certain that we have direct payments to working families of this country. And with that, Mr. President, I would withdraw my objection.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the joint resolution be considered read a third time.
Is there objection? Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the joint resolution.
If there's no further debate, the question is on passage of the joint resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The Senate resolution is passed.
I ask
The
unanimous.
joint resolution is passed.
I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Mr. President,
Senate Majority Leader.
I ask unanimous consent that there be printed as a Senate document a compilation of materials from the congressional record in tribute to retiring members of the 116th Congress, and that members have until Monday, December 21st to submit such tributes.
Without objection.
As if in executive session with respect to the Summers nomination, I ask unanimous consent that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and the president be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the majority leader and the junior senator for North Carolina be authorized to sign duly enrolled bills or joint resolutions on December the 18th and 19th, 2020.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Indian Affairs Committee be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 6237 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 6237, an act to amend the Indian Health Care Improvement Act and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know no further debate on the bill.
If there is no further debate, the question is on passage of the bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is passed.
I ask unanimous consent the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Committee on Indian Affairs be discharged from further consideration of S 4079 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report.
S. 4079, a bill to authorize the Seminole Tribe of Florida and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged. The Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 5023, which was received from the House.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 5023, an act to name the Department of Veterans Affairs community-based outpatient clinic in Youngstown, Ohio, and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask the chair lay before the Senate the message to accompany S 2174.
The chair lays upon the Senate the message from the House.
Resolved that the bill from the Senate, S. 2174, entitled an act to expand the grants authorized under the Jennifer's Law and Kristen's Act and so forth and for other purposes, do pass with amendments.
I move to concur in the House amendment and I ask unanimous consent that the motion be agreed to.
Without objection.
I move to concur in the title amendment and I ask unanimous consent that the motion be agreed to and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask the chair to lay before the Senate the message to accompany S-Con Res 52.
The chair lays upon this before the Senate a message from the House.
Resolved that the resolution from the Senate, S. Conres 52, entitled Concurrent Resolution to Correct the Enrollment of S. 3312, do pass with an amendment.
I move to concur in the House amendment and ask unanimous consent that the motion to be agreed to and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 409 S 2353.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 409 is 2353, a bill to direct the administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency to develop guidance for firefighters and so forth and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 591, S 4222.
Clerk will report.
Calendar number 591 as 4222, a bill to amend Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code, and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the committee report amendment be agreed to and the bill as amended be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know no further debate on the bill as amended.
If there's no further debate, the question is on passage of the bill as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill, as amended, is passed.
I ask unanimous consent the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Help Committee be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 1966 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 1966, an act to direct the Comptroller General of the United States and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged.
I further ask the
The
bill
Senate
be
will
read a
proceed to the
third.
measure.
I further ask the bill be read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 8906, which was received from the House.
Clerk will report.
H.R. 8906, an act to amend Title 29 of the Public Health Service Act and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be considered read a third time.
Without objection.
I know no further debate on the bill.
There's no further debate. Questions on passage of the bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it.
I ask
The bill is
unanimous
passed.
consent the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Foreign Relations Committee be discharged from further consideration, and the Senate now proceed to SRES 729.
Clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 729, recognizing the 25th anniversary of the Dayton Peace Accords.
Without objection, the committee is discharged, and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I know no further debate on the measure.
If there's no further debate, the question is on the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The resolution is approved, is agreed to.
I ask unanimous consent the preamble be agreed to and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to immediate consideration of SRES 808, which was submitted earlier today.
Clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 808, congratulating the National Urban League and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I further ask the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Now, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it adjourn until 11 a.m. Saturday, December 19th. Further, that following the prayer and pledge, the morning hour be deemed expired, the journal of proceedings be approved to date, the time for the two leaders be reserved for their use later in the day, and morning business be closed. Further, following leader remarks, the Senate proceed to executive session and resume consideration of the Dietz nomination.
Without objection.
So if there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask to stand adjourned under the previous order.
The Senate is adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.